The shot missed my head by 4 centimeters. Sergeant Chen told me this afterward with the calm of someone reporting a minor scheduling conflict. Then she said, "They'll correct their aim. We have maybe 3 days before they try again." I had employed 11 bodyguards before her. Not one of them had ever given me a timeline for my own death, as though it were useful information I might want to plan around. I found to my surprise that it was. I am Councillor Veth of the Coalition Assembly. The Unaligned Protection Act, 4 years of my life, legislation that would extend coalition rights to 17 species currently classified as property, has made me a target. 3 factions lose significant resource contracts if it passes. They have done the calculation and concluded I am easier to remove than the bill. My previous bodyguard quit after attempt 2. My advisor sent me Chen's file with a single note, the best available. She arrived, walked my entire residence in silence, then repositioned my desk, adjusted 2 cameras, and told me my previous security had been designed by someone who'd never been shot at. I asked how she knew. "It was set up for comfort," she said. "Comfortable gets people killed." I moved to a different chair immediately. The Meridian Summit, a delegate 6 years of working relationship, someone I considered cautious and principled, produced a contact toxin during a handshake. Chen cleared me before contact, smooth and fast, like the moment had been rehearsed. She had been watching his left thumb for 20 minutes. "People touch the thing they're about to use," she said later. "Always, every species I've ever worked with." I asked if that included humans. She said, "Especially humans." I thought about that for a long time. I started watching hands across negotiating tables and found she was right. She had changed the way I saw people without asking my permission. I asked about her service record. She answered the way soldiers answer: no inflection, no self-pity, no request for acknowledgement. 14 months in a contested zone with no resupply or contact. A decision made without orders that saved 31 lives. I asked what made her act alone. 31 is more than 1, she said. The math was simple. A pause, then, the one was me, wanted to be clear about that. It was the only time in 3 months I had heard her acknowledge her own life as something with weight. I didn't respond well. I said something inadequate about bravery. She moved on immediately, the way people do when a door has been opened too far. I have not forgotten what I saw through it. 4 operatives, coordinated, professional. The power died and Chen had me under the desk in the dark before I understood what was happening. "Don't move, don't speak." She was gone. For 11 minutes I heard things I will not describe. When the lights returned, she was standing at the door with a cut above her eye she hadn't mentioned and would not acknowledge. "Different floor," she said. "Too many entry points here." I stood up. I noticed her hands were shaking, small, controlled, almost invisible. She noticed me noticing. Her hands stopped. "Different floor," she said again, as though repetition closed the subject. I followed her without a word. Some things deserve that courtesy. After the 4th attempt, she took a round to the shoulder and completed the evacuation before telling anyone. I found out from the medic. I went to her room and asked, directly, which she disliked, why she was still here. She had a decorated record, she had options. 17 species, she said, like that was a complete answer. Then, "You've been trying to make them people instead of inventory," seemed worth staying for. She had understood what I was working toward from the beginning. She had simply never said so. I asked why not. She looked at me with something I have learned to identify as dry exasperation. "Didn't think you needed the motivation," she said. "You were already doing it." The act passed by 9 votes. I stood in the chamber and thought about 17 species learning they had become people under law, and about the 4 attempts it had taken to get here, and about the Marine at the back of the room who had made the arithmetic work out in my favor. I walked to her. She visibly disapproved of the sightline, and I said, 17 species exist differently today because you kept me alive." She said, "That was the job." I said, "You and I both know it was more than that." She looked at the floor, 3 seconds, maybe 4. Then she looked up and her eyes went back to the exits and she said nothing. I have spent enough time with Sergeant Chen to know what her silences mean. "That one meant you're right, but don't make it strange." I didn't. We walked out together. She checked the corridor first.